The stars burned bright in the Kiran Nebula, but Commander Sora could not see their beauty. She stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Voice of Dawn, and watched her tactical display with cold focus. Red dots filled the screen. Enemy ships. Too many enemy ships. "Commander, the Dreth fleet is advancing," said Hana, her communications officer. The young woman's voice was steady, but Sora could see fear in her purple eyes. "They outnumber us 3-1. Sora pressed her hands against the cold metal railing. Her silver hair was pulled back tight, and her face showed no emotion. She had led the Valari fleet for 20 years. She had seen many battles, but this one felt different. This one felt wrong. "Hold formation," Sora ordered. "All ships, prepare for engagement." Across the void of space, 47 Valari warships faced over 150 Dreth vessels. The Dreth were a brutal species. They conquered worlds and destroyed anyone who stood in their way. The Valari had fought them for decades, and now the war had come to this moment. But Sora's mind was not fully on the battle. It was on a small frigate at the edge of her fleet, the Swift Wing. Her daughter Yuna served aboard that ship. Yuna was young, only 23 years old. This was her first real battle. Sora had pushed her daughter toward military service since childhood. She had trained her hard. She had demanded perfection. She wanted Yuna to be strong, to be a leader, to carry on the family legacy. Now, watching the red dots move closer on her screen, Sora wondered if she had made a terrible mistake. "Commander," Hana said suddenly, "the Swift Wing is reporting ready. Lieutenant Yuna sends her respects." Sora closed her eyes for just a moment. She wanted to call her daughter. She wanted to tell her to be careful. She wanted to say words she had never said enough. But she was a commander. Personal feelings had no place in battle. "Acknowledged," Sora said simply. The Dreth attacked. Bright beams of energy cut through space. Explosions lit up the darkness like new stars being born. Sora's fleet fired back, and Dreth ships began to break apart. For a few minutes it seemed like the Valari might hold. Then everything changed. A massive Dreth vessel, larger than anything Sora had ever seen, moved to the front of the enemy fleet. It was black and covered with strange markings that seemed to glow with sick green light. "What is that?" Hana whispered. Before anyone could answer, the ship fired. But it was not a normal weapon. A wave of green energy spread out in all directions, passing through Valari ships like water through sand. Every ship it touched went dark. Shields failed. Engines stopped. Weapons went offline. "Our shields are down," someone screamed. "Engines are failing. We have no power." Sora grabbed the railing as her own ship shook violently. Emergency lights came on, casting everything in dim red. On her tactical display, she watched in horror as her fleet became helpless. The Dreth did not wait. They attacked the disabled ships without mercy. "All ships, retreat!" Sora shouted. "Emergency power! Get us out of here!" Some ships managed to restore partial power. They began to pull back, but others were not so lucky. Sora watched as ship after ship was torn apart by Dreth weapons. Then she saw it. The Swift Wing. Yuna's ship was dead in space. No power, no shields, no weapons. 3 Dreth destroyers were moving toward it. "No!" Sora breathed. "Commander!" Hana cried. "The Swift Wing needs help! Send reinforcements, now!" But there was no one to send. Every ship that could move was fighting for its own survival. Sora watched helplessly as the Dreth destroyers opened fire on her daughter's ship. The Swift Wing tried to launch escape pods. Sora counted 7 small objects leaving the dying ship. 7 pods carrying survivors. Maybe Yuna was in one of them. Maybe she had escaped. The Dreth shot down 6 pods in seconds. 1 pod remained. It tumbled away from the battle, spinning wildly into an asteroid field nearby. The Dreth ignored it. They were too busy destroying the Swift Wing itself. The frigate exploded in a ball of white fire. Sora could not breathe. She could not move. She could not think. She just stared at the spot where her daughter's ship had been. "Commander?" Hana's voice seemed very far away. "Commander, we need to retreat. We need to go now." Sora did not respond. Hana took her arm gently. "Commander Sora, please, we must survive. For the others." Slowly, like waking from a nightmare, Sora turned away from the tactical display. Her face was empty. Her eyes were dead. "Take us out," she said. Her voice was hollow. "All surviving ships, jump to emergency coordinates." The voice of Dawn and 17 other Valari ships escaped into faster-than-light travel. Behind them, they left the wreckage of 29 destroyed vessels. Thousands of Valari soldiers were dead. Among the confirmed dead was Lieutenant Yuna, daughter of Commander Sora. 3 days later, Sora received the official report. Search teams had scanned the entire battlefield. They found debris, they found bodies, they found destroyed escape pods, but they found no survivors from the Swift Wing. Yuna was listed as killed in action. Sora read the report alone in her quarters. She read it once, twice, 3 times. The words did not change. Her daughter was gone. She put down the report and sat in silence. She did not cry. She had forgotten how to cry long ago. But something inside her broke, something that would never heal. She thought about all the times she had pushed Yuna too hard, all the times she had chosen duty over love, all the times Yuna had looked at her with those big eyes, wanting approval, wanting warmth, and Sora had given her only expectations. Now Yuna was dead, and Sora would never have the chance to make things right. Far away in the cold darkness of an asteroid field, a single escape pod drifted silently among the rocks. Its beacon was broken. Its power was almost gone. Inside, a young Valari woman lay unconscious, blood on her face, barely breathing. Yuna was alive, but she was dying slowly, alone in the endless void of space, and no one in the galaxy knew she was there. The stars continued to burn in the Kiran Nebula. They did not care about wars, or death, or a mother's grief. They simply burned, cold and distant, as they had for billions of years. And somewhere in that vast darkness, a small pod carrying a dying girl drifted further and further from home. The rain fell softly on the Valari homeworld. It was the kind of rain that came in late autumn, cold and gray and endless. Commander Sora stood among thousands of others in the memorial garden, wearing her formal black uniform, her face like stone. 3 weeks had passed since the Battle of Kiran Nebula. 3 weeks since she had watched her daughter's ship explode. 3 weeks since her world had ended. Today was the memorial service for the fallen. A Valari priest stood before a great wall of names. Each name was carved in silver letters, shining even in the gray light. There were thousands of names: soldiers, officers, engineers, medics, people with families, people with dreams, people who would never come home. One name hurt more than all the others: Lieutenant Yuna. Third row from the bottom. Sora could not stop looking at it. The priest spoke words about honor and sacrifice. He spoke about duty and courage. He spoke about the eternal peace that waited for those who gave their lives for their people. Sora heard none of it. She just stared at her daughter's name and felt nothing. No, that was not true. She felt something. She felt guilt. Memories came to her like ghosts. Yuna as a small child, running through the garden of their home, laughing as she chased colorful birds. Yuna at 10 years old, crying because she did not want to go to military school. Yuna at 15, standing at attention while Sora inspected her uniform and found fault with every small detail. "You must be stronger," Sora had always told her. "The universe is cruel. I am preparing you for it." But had she been preparing Yuna? Or had she been pushing away the one person who loved her unconditionally? Sora remembered the last time she had spoken to her daughter. It was 2 days before the battle. Yuna had called her from the Swift Wing, excited and nervous about her first major deployment. "Mother, I will make you proud," Yuna had said, her young face glowing on the screen. Sora had nodded stiffly. "See that you do. Remember your training. Do not make emotional decisions." That was all she had said. No words of love, no words of encouragement, just cold expectations. And now those would be the last words Yuna ever heard from her mother. The memorial service ended. People began to leave, walking slowly through the rain. Some cried openly. Others held each other for comfort. Sora stood alone. Hana approached her carefully. The communications officer had stayed close to Sora since the battle, watching over her commander with growing worry. "Commander," Hana said softly, "you should eat something. You have not eaten in 2 days." I am not hungry. Commander, please. Yuna would not want you to. Do not tell me what my daughter would want. Sora's voice was sharp like a blade. You did not know her. Hana stepped back, hurt in her eyes. I am sorry, Commander. I only want to help. Sora said nothing. She turned and walked away through the rain, leaving Hana alone among the empty chairs and the wall of silver names. In the days that followed, Sora buried herself in work. She attended meetings. She reviewed reports. She planned strategies for the ongoing war. She did everything a commander should do, but those who knew her could see the change. She no longer raised her voice in anger. She no longer praised good work or criticized bad work. She simply existed, going through the motions of life without any feeling behind them. The Valari Council met to discuss the war. Some leaders wanted to continue fighting. Others wanted to seek peace with the Dreth. Sora sat in her chair and listened to them argue, but she did not speak. What did it matter? Her daughter was dead. Nothing else seemed important. One night, alone in her quarters, Sora found a small box she had kept hidden for years. Inside were things Yuna had given her over the years. A drawing from when Yuna was 5, showing a tall figure with silver hair holding hands with a small figure with black hair. Me and Mommy, Yuna had written in childish letters. There was a letter from when Yuna was 12, written from military school. Dear Mother, I miss you. I am trying very hard. I hope you are proud of me. Love, Yuna. There was a photo from Yuna's graduation ceremony. She was smiling so brightly, standing in her new uniform. Sora had not attended that ceremony. She had been busy with fleet business. Sora held these small treasures and finally understood what she had lost. Not just a daughter, she had lost every chance to be the mother Yuna deserved. She had lost every moment she could have shared. She had lost everything that truly mattered. She put the items back in the box and closed it. She did not cry. Valari commanders did not cry. But her hands shook as she placed the box back in its hiding place. Far across the galaxy, in the cold asteroid field of Kiran Nebula, the escape pod continued to drift. Its power was nearly gone. The air inside was becoming thin and cold. Yuna lay on the small bench inside the pod, her body broken and weak. She had woken up once, 2 days after the battle. She had seen the warning lights. She had seen that her beacon was damaged. She had tried to fix it, but she was too weak. She had passed out again. Now she floated between life and death. Her breathing was slow and shallow. Her skin was pale and cold. The radiation from the Dreth weapon was slowly poisoning her blood. Her internal organs were failing one by one. By Valari medical knowledge, she had perhaps 2 days to live, maybe less. In her fading dreams, Yuna saw her mother, not the cold commander, but a different version. A mother who smiled and held her close. A mother who said, I love you, and meant it. A mother who existed only in Yuna's imagination. I am sorry, Mother, Yuna whispered in her dream. I tried to make you proud. The pod systems flickered. One more light went dark. The oxygen would run out in 6 hours. No Valari ship was coming. No rescue team was searching. Everyone believed Yuna was dead. But somewhere in the vast emptiness of space, a human ship was traveling through the region. Its name was the TSS Endurance, and its crew had a simple mission: to help anyone who needed help, no matter who they were. They were not looking for Yuna. They did not know she existed. But sometimes in the cold universe, fate brings people together in unexpected ways. And sometimes the difference between life and death is simply being in the right place at the right time. The escape pod drifted silently through the asteroids. Inside, a dying girl dreamed of a mother's love she had never known. And far away, that mother sat alone in the dark, holding a box of memories, wondering why she had never said the words that mattered most. The rain continued to fall on the Valari homeworld. It would fall all night, and in the morning nothing would be different. The grief would still be there. The guilt would still be there. The empty place in Sora's heart would still be there. Or so she believed. The TSS Endurance was not a warship. It had no heavy weapons. It had no thick armor. It was a simple vessel, built for one purpose: to help people. Captain Junho stood on his bridge, drinking coffee from a worn metal cup. He was a tall man with kind eyes and gray hair at his temples. He had served in the Terran military for 15 years before retiring to join the Relief Corps. Now he traveled through space, picking up survivors, delivering supplies, and doing whatever good he could. "Anything on sensors?" Junho asked. His navigator, a young woman named Mina, checked her screens. Mina was also the ship's doctor, trained in both flying and healing. On a small ship like the Endurance, everyone had multiple jobs. "Lots of debris from the battle," Mina reported. "Valari and Dreth wreckage everywhere. No life signs so far." The Endurance had entered the Kirin Nebula region 3 days after the battle. They had heard about the fighting and came to search for survivors. It was dangerous work. The Dreth might still be nearby. But Junho did not care about danger. He cared about saving lives. "Keep scanning," Junho said. "Someone might still be out there." At the back of the bridge, Sergeant Taiho sat at the medical station, organizing supplies. Taiho was 32 years old with strong hands and a gentle face. He was the ship's combat medic, the person who went out into the field to bring back the wounded. Taiho had a reputation among the relief corps. He never gave up on a patient, ever. Other medics would sometimes accept that a person was too far gone, too badly hurt to save. Taiho refused to accept this. He would fight for every heartbeat, every breath, until there was absolutely nothing left to fight for. Some people called him stubborn, others called him a fool, but the people he had saved called him a hero. Today, Taiho was quiet. He was thinking about the battle reports they had received. Thousands of Valari dead, ships destroyed, families broken. The universe could be so cruel. "Hey, Taiho," Mina called from her station. "Come look at this." Taiho walked over and looked at her screen. There was a small blip, barely visible among the noise of debris and asteroids. "What is it?" he asked. "I am not sure. It could be nothing. But it looks like a very weak signal coming from inside that asteroid field." Junho turned to look. "A distress beacon?" "Maybe. It is very faint. Could be just a broken piece of equipment still transmitting." Taiho stared at the blip. Something in his gut told him this was not just broken equipment. "Can we get closer?" Mina frowned. "That asteroid field is dangerous. Rocks everywhere. One wrong move and we crash." "The signal is probably nothing," said another crew member, a man named Dohun who worked the engines. "We should not risk the ship for debris." Junho looked at the screen for a long moment. Then he looked at Taiho. Their eyes met, and an understanding passed between them. "If there is even a small chance someone is alive in there," Junho said slowly, "then we go." Dohun started to protest, but Junho raised his hand. "I know the risks, but this is what we do. This is why we are here. Mina, take us in. Carefully." The Endurance moved toward the asteroid field. Mina piloted with great skill, weaving between massive rocks that could crush their ship like paper. The journey took nearly an hour, but finally they reached the source of the signal. "There," Taiho said, pointing at the viewport. A small escape pod floated among the asteroids. It was damaged and dark. No lights, no visible power. It looked dead. "Valari design," Mina noted. "From the battle." "Life signs?" Junho asked. Mina checked her instruments and shook her head. "I cannot tell. The asteroid field is interfering with our scanners. We would need to go out there and check directly." "I will go," Taiho said immediately. No one argued. They all knew Taiho would volunteer. He always did. Taiho put on his spacesuit and entered the airlock. A few minutes later, he was floating through space toward the silent pod. The asteroids moved slowly around him, like sleeping giants. He reached the pod and looked through the small window. At first, he saw nothing but darkness. Then his helmet light caught something inside. A face. A young woman's face. "I have visual," Taiho reported through his radio. "Female Valari. She looks unconscious. I am opening the pod." He used his tools to force open the emergency hatch. Air rushed out, thin and stale. The pod had almost no oxygen left. A few more hours and the person inside would have suffocated. Taiho climbed in and knelt beside the woman. She was young, maybe early 20s. Her silver hair was stained with dried blood. Her skin was gray and cold. He pressed his fingers to her neck. Nothing. He pressed harder, searching for a pulse. There. Faint. Weak. But there. "She is alive!" Taiho shouted into his radio. Barely. She needs immediate medical attention. I am bringing her in. He carefully lifted the young woman in his arms. She weighed almost nothing. Her body was limp and cold, but she was breathing. Just barely, but breathing. As he carried her back to the Endurance, Tai-Ho looked at her face. She was so young. Too young to die alone in the darkness of space. Hold on, he whispered to her. I have got you. You are not dying today. Back on the ship, Mina was already preparing the medical bay. When Tai-Ho arrived with the unconscious woman, they immediately placed her on the treatment table. Mina ran her scanner over the patient's body. Her face grew more worried with each reading. This is bad, she said. Severe radiation poisoning, internal bleeding, hypothermia, multiple fractures, organ failure beginning in her liver and kidneys. Can we save her? Tai-Ho asked. Mina hesitated. Tai-Ho, by Valari medical standards, this woman is already dead. Her injuries are too severe. Her body is shutting down. The kind thing would be to make her comfortable and let her go peacefully. Tai-Ho looked at the young woman on the table. Her chest rose and fell with tiny, struggling breaths. She was fighting. Even unconscious, even dying, she was fighting to live. No, Tai-Ho said. Tai-Ho, no, we do not give up. That is not what humans do. I do not care what Valari medicine says. We are not Valari. We are going to save her. Mina stared at him for a moment. Then she nodded slowly. Then let us get to work. They did not know her name. They did not know her rank or her family. They knew only that she was a living person who needed help. And for humans, that was enough. Captain Junho watched through the medical bay window as Tai-Ho and Mina began their desperate fight. He did not know if they would succeed. The odds were against them. But he knew his crew. He knew their stubbornness, their refusal to accept defeat. If anyone could bring this stranger back from the edge of death, it was them. The Endurance floated gently among the asteroids, a small island of warmth in the cold void. Inside, two humans worked through the night, fighting for a life that everyone else had already given up on. It was in many ways the most human thing in the universe. The medical bay of the Endurance became a battlefield. Not a battle with weapons and ships, but a battle against death itself, and Tai-Ho refused to lose. 12 hours had passed since they found the young Valari woman. 12 hours of constant work, constant monitoring, constant fighting. Mina had performed 2 surgeries to stop the internal bleeding. Tai-Ho had pumped the woman full of anti-radiation drugs, hoping they would work on Valari biology. They did not know if what they were doing was right. Valari bodies were different from human bodies. Their blood was different. Their organs were in different places. Every treatment was a guess. Every medicine was a risk. Her heart rate is dropping again, Mina said, watching the monitors. Dark circles had formed under her eyes. She had not slept since the rescue. Tai-Ho was at the woman's side immediately. He checked her pulse, her breathing, her color. All bad. She was slipping away. Come on, he whispered. Stay with me. He adjusted the IV drip, increasing the flow of fluids. He checked the oxygen supply, making sure she was getting enough air. He did everything he could think of, everything his training had taught him. Captain Junho entered the medical bay with cups of hot coffee. How is she? Not good, Mina admitted. We are fighting, but she is not responding well. Her body's giving up. Junho handed them the coffee. When was the last time either of you rested? Neither answered. They both knew the answer was too long ago. You need to sleep, Junho said gently. I can watch her for a while. Tai-Ho shook his head. I am not leaving her. Tai-Ho, you will make mistakes if you are too tired. You could hurt her instead of helping her. Then I will be careful. I am not leaving her. Junho sighed but did not argue. He had known Tai-Ho for 5 years. He knew that look in his eyes. Nothing would move him from that woman's side. Mina finally agreed to rest for a few hours, but Tai-Ho stayed. He pulled a chair next to the bed and sat down. He took the woman's cold hand in his own. I do not know if you can hear me, he said softly, but I want you to know that you are not alone. My name is Tai-Ho. I am a human. I know we probably look strange to you, but we are going to help you. We are going to get you through this. The woman did not respond. Her eyes remained closed. The monitors beeped steadily, showing a weak but present heartbeat. Taiho kept talking. He talked about anything and everything. He talked about Earth, the human homeworld. He talked about the blue oceans and green forests. He talked about his childhood, growing up in a small village near the mountains. He talked about his sister, Yunji. She had been only 16 when the war came to their planet. A bomb had hit their village. Taiho had been away with the military. When he came home, everything was gone. He had found Yunji in the ruins of their house. She was still alive, but barely. He had carried her for miles trying to find help, but he was too late. She died in his arms just minutes before they reached a hospital. That moment had changed Taiho forever. He had sworn that he would never be too late again. He would never let anyone die if there was any chance to save them. Now looking at the young Valari woman, Taiho felt that old pain rise up again. She was about the same age Unji would have been now. She had the same fragile look, the same fighting spirit. "I could not save my sister," Taiho whispered, "but I can save you. I will save you. Do you hear me? You are going to live." At hour 36, the woman's heart stopped. The monitors screamed with alarms. Mina rushed in from her rest. Taiho was already moving, grabbing the emergency equipment. "She is in cardiac arrest," Mina shouted. "I know! Starting resuscitation." Taiho placed his hands on the woman's chest and began compressions. 1, 2, 3, 4. He counted in his head, keeping the rhythm steady. Mina prepared the electrical paddles. "Clear," Mina called. The shock went through the woman's body. Nothing. "Again," Taiho said. Another shock. Still nothing. "Taiho, she is not responding. We have tried 3 times." "Then we try a 4th time." "Again." Shock. Nothing. "5th time. Again." Shock. A tiny flicker on the monitor. Then nothing. Mina put down the paddles. Tears were forming in her eyes. "Taiho, she is gone. We did everything we could." Taiho did not stop compressions. "She is not gone. Not yet. Not while I am here. Her heart is not beating. Then I will beat it for her until she is ready to beat it herself." He continued compressions, sweat dripping down his face. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. His arms burned. His back ached. He did not stop. "Come on," he shouted at the woman. "Wake up! Fight! Do not give up!" Mina stood frozen, watching. She wanted to stop him. She wanted to tell him it was over. But something in his voice, something in his determination, made her stay silent. 1 minute passed. 2 minutes. 3 minutes. And then, a miracle. A beep. Weak but real. Then another. And another. "I have a heartbeat," Mina gasped. On the monitor, a line appeared. Up and down. Up and down. The woman's heart was beating again. Taiho finally stopped compressions. He nearly collapsed from exhaustion, but he caught himself on the edge of the bed. His whole body was shaking. "She came back," he breathed. "She came back." Mina stared at the monitors in disbelief. "This is impossible. She was dead for over 3 minutes. No one comes back from that." "She did. She is a fighter." They worked through another crisis, stabilizing her heart, adjusting her medications. Slowly, hour by hour, the woman's condition began to improve. It was not fast, it was not easy, but she was getting stronger. At hour 72, Mina did a full body scan. Her face lit up with hope for the first time in days. The bleeding has stopped. Her organs are starting to recover. The radiation levels in her blood are going down. Taiho, she is going to live. Taiho was sitting in his chair, barely awake. When he heard Mina's words, he let out a laugh that was half joy and half exhaustion. "I told you," he said. "I told you we could save her." At hour 80, the young woman opened her eyes for the first time. She looked around the strange room in confusion. Strange machines, strange lights, strange faces. She tried to speak, but her throat was too dry. Taiho leaned forward, his tired face breaking into a gentle smile. "Easy, you are safe. You are on a human ship. We found you in an escape pod. You almost died, but you are going to be okay." The woman's purple eyes focused on him. She did not understand everything he was saying, but she understood his tone. Kind, warm, safe. She tried to speak again, This time a word came out, weak and cracked. Mother. Taiho took her hand. We will find your mother, I promise. But first you need to rest. You need to get stronger. The woman closed her eyes again, slipping back into sleep. But this time, it was a healing sleep, a living sleep. Taiho watched over her until morning. He did not know her name. He did not know her story. But he had made her a promise, and he intended to keep it. In the universe, many species believed that death was the end, that when the body failed, there was no turning back. Humans did not believe this. Humans believed that life was precious, that every heartbeat was worth fighting for. And today, that belief had saved a stranger's life. The Endurance continued its journey through space, carrying a young woman back from the edge of death. And somewhere in the galaxy, a mother was about to learn that miracles were still possible. Yuna woke slowly, like rising from a deep ocean. Light filled her eyes. Sounds filled her ears. She was alive. For a moment, she did not know where she was. The room was small and warm. The walls were gray metal, covered with screens and blinking lights. A soft humming sound came from somewhere beneath her. An engine, she realized. She was on a ship, but not a Valari ship. The design was all wrong. Good morning. Yuna turned her head. A human man sat beside her bed. He looked tired but happy. His dark eyes were kind, and his smile was gentle. My name is Taiho, he said slowly, speaking clearly so she could understand. Do you remember me? Yuna thought back. There were broken memories, pain, cold, darkness, and then a voice talking to her, keeping her company in the black void between life and death. You, she whispered. Her throat hurt. You saved me. Taiho nodded. My friends helped. Dr. Mina did the surgeries. Captain Junho gave the orders. But yes, we saved you. How do you feel? Yuna took a moment to check her body. Everything hurt, but it was a distant hurt, softened by medicine. She could move her fingers and toes. She could breathe without pain. I feel alive, she said. I did not expect to feel alive ever again. What is your name? Taiho asked. Yuna. Lieutenant Yuna of the Valari fleet? Or, I was. I do not know if I am still a lieutenant. I do not know anything anymore. Taiho reached out and took her hand. It was a simple gesture, but it meant everything. You are safe now, Yuna. You are on the TSS Endurance. We are a human relief ship. We help people after battles. We found your escape pod in an asteroid field. My ship, Yuna remembered suddenly. The Swift Wing. What happened to my ship? Taiho's face grew sad. I am sorry. Your ship was destroyed. You were the only survivor we found. Yuna closed her eyes. Faces appeared in her memory. Her crewmates, her friends, all gone. She felt tears slide down her cheeks. I am sorry, Taiho said again. I know it hurts. Everyone is dead. Everyone except me. Why did I survive? Why me? Taiho did not answer immediately. He thought about the question carefully. I do not know why some people survive and others do not. But I believe you survived for a reason. Maybe you have something important still to do. Someone important still to meet. Yuna thought of her mother, the cold commander, the distant parent. Would Sora even care that Yuna was alive? Or would she be disappointed that Yuna had failed to die with honor? Over the next 2 weeks, Yuna slowly recovered. The humans gave her medicines she had never heard of. They fed her strange food that tasted better than anything on a Valari ship. They talked to her, laughed with her, and treated her like family. She learned about humans. They were a young species, not even 1,000 years into space travel. They were smaller than many alien races. They were weaker than some, slower than others. But they had something that other species did not understand. You call it stubbornness, Mina explained one day, but really it is hope. We refuse to believe that anything is impossible. We keep trying even when everyone else gives up. But why? Yuna asked. If the odds are against you, is it not logical to accept defeat? Mina laughed. Maybe, but humans are not very logical. We feel things deeply. When we see someone suffering, we cannot just walk away. When we see injustice, we cannot stay silent. When we see a chance to help, no matter how small, we take it. Tai-Ho spent the most time with Yuna. When she was strong enough to sit up, he taught her card games from Earth. When she could walk, he showed her around the ship. When she felt sad, he sat with her and listened. "You remind me of someone," Tai-Ho said one evening. They were sitting in the observation room, watching stars drift by. "Who?" Yuna asked. "My sister, Yunji. She died many years ago." "I am sorry." Tai-Ho nodded slowly. "I could not save her. I was too late. For a long time I felt like a failure. I thought I should have died instead of her." Yuna understood that feeling. Survivor's guilt, the humans called it. The pain of living when others had died. "What changed?" she asked. "I realized that being sad would not bring her back, but helping others might prevent someone else from losing their sister, their daughter, their friend. So I became a medic. I decided to save every life I could in her memory." Yuna thought about this. "Do you think I could do something like that? Find meaning in what happened?" Tai-Ho smiled. "I think you already have. You survived. That means you can tell people what happened at the battle. You can honor your fallen friends by living a good life. And maybe you can help others too." 2 weeks after her rescue, Yuna was strong enough to send a message to the Valari Alliance. Captain Junho helped her record a video transmission. "This is Lieutenant Yuna of the Valari Fleet," she said, looking into the camera. "I am a survivor of the Battle of Kirin Nebula. I was rescued by humans from the TSS Endurance. I am alive and recovering. Please inform my mother, Commander Sora of the Voice of Dawn." They sent the message through official channels. Then they waited. The response came 12 hours later, but it was not from Sora. It was from Hana. "This must be a trick," Hana's voice said through the speakers. "Yuna is dead. We confirmed her death. This is some kind of death deception." Junho replied calmly. "This is not a trick. Lieutenant Yuna is here with us. She is real. She is alive. We can perform any verification you require." There was a long silence. Then Hana spoke again, her voice shaking. "Send biometric data, DNA scan, retinal pattern, everything." They sent everything. Every scan, every measurement, every proof they could provide. Another long silence. Then finally Hana spoke again. This time her voice was breaking with emotion. "It matches. It all matches. She is really alive. Yuna is really alive." "We are bringing her home," Junho said. "We will reach Valari space in 3 days. I will inform Commander Sora immediately. Please take care of her. Please bring her home safely." After the transmission ended, Yuna sat quietly in her chair. Her hands were shaking. Her mother would know soon. Sora would know that Yuna was alive. "Are you okay?" Tai-Ho asked. "I am scared," Yuna admitted. "My mother and I did not have a good relationship. She is cold and strict. She never told me she loved me. I always felt like I was not good enough for her." Tai-Ho knelt beside her chair. "Yuna, listen to me. When we found you, you were almost dead. The first word you spoke was mother. In your worst moment, you thought of her. That means you love her. And I believe she loves you too, even if she does not know how to show it." "How can you know that?" "Because I have seen many families. I have seen mothers who lost children and children who lost mothers. Love does not always look the way we expect. Sometimes it hides behind cold words and hard expectations, but it is still there." Yuna wiped her eyes. "I hope you are right. We will find out soon. For now, try to rest. You need your strength." The Endurance continued toward Valari space, carrying precious cargo, a daughter returning from the dead, and somewhere ahead, a mother was about to receive the greatest gift of her life. Yuna looked out at the stars. For the first time since the battle, she felt something like hope. The humans had given her a second chance. Now she had to decide what to do with it. She would see her mother again. She would tell her everything. And maybe, just maybe, they would finally find the love that had been hiding between them all along. Hana walked through the corridors of the command station with shaking legs. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. In her hand, she held a data pad with verification results that would change everything. Commander Sora was in her office, as always. Since the memorial service, she had barely left that room. She ate there, slept there, and worked there. She had become a ghost of herself, going through the motions of life without truly living. Hana stopped at the door. She took a deep breath. Then she knocked. "Enter," came Sora's cold voice. Hana opened the door and stepped inside. Sora sat behind her desk reading reports. She did not look up. "Commander," Hana began. Her voice cracked. She tried again. "Commander, I have news." "What news could possibly matter?" Sora asked, still not looking up. "It is about Yuna." Sora's hands stopped moving. Her whole body became still. "Yuna is dead. There is no news about the dead." "Commander, please look at me." Something in Hana's voice made Sora finally raise her eyes. She saw tears streaming down Hana's face, but they were not tears of sadness. They were something else entirely. "Commander Sora," Hana said, her voice trembling with emotion, "your daughter is alive." The words hung in the air. Sora stared at Hana without expression. Then she shook her head. "That is not funny, Hana. It is cruel, and it is not funny." "I am not joking, Commander. Yuna is alive. She was rescued from an escape pod by a human ship. We have verified her identity. DNA, retinal scan, biometrics. It is her. It is really her." Sora stood up slowly. Her face was pale. "This is impossible. No one could survive those injuries. No one could survive that long alone in space." Hana held out the datapad. "The humans did something. I do not understand their medicine. But they brought her back. She is on a ship called the Endurance, heading here right now. She will arrive tomorrow." Sora took the datapad. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold it. She read the verification results. She read them again and again. Then she saw the video message. She pressed play with a trembling finger. And there on the screen was Yuna, thin and pale but alive, speaking, breathing. Real. "This is Lieutenant Yuna of the Valari fleet. I am a survivor of the Battle of Kirin Nebula. I am alive and recovering. Please inform my mother." Sora dropped the datapad. It clattered to the floor. She put her hands over her face. And then Commander Sora, the legendary warrior who had never shown weakness in front of anyone, began to cry. Great sobs shook her body. Tears poured through her fingers. 20 years of holding back emotion, 20 years of being strong, 20 years of building walls around her heart, all came crashing down in an instant. Her daughter was alive. Yuna was alive. Hana rushed forward and held her commander. She did not care about protocol. She did not care about rank. She just held her friend and let her cry. "She is alive," Sora sobbed. "My baby is alive." "Yes, Commander. She is coming home." Sora cried for an hour. When she finally stopped, her eyes were red and swollen. But there was something in them that had not been there for weeks. Life, hope, light. "Prepare my ship," she ordered. "I am going to meet the Endurance. I cannot wait another day. I cannot wait another hour." The next morning, Sora's personal shuttle launched from the command station. She flew alone, pushing the engines as fast as they could go. Every minute felt like an eternity. On the Endurance, Yuna stood by a window, watching space fly past. She had put on a clean Valari uniform that Mina had replicated for her. She had brushed her silver hair until it shone. She wanted to look strong for her mother. She wanted to seem worthy. But inside, she was terrified. "She will be here soon," Taiho said, standing beside her. I do not know what to say to her." "You do not need to say anything special. Just let her see you. That will be enough." "Will it? She always wanted me to be perfect. I failed my mission. My ship was destroyed. I almost died. I am the opposite of perfect." Taiho put a hand on her shoulder. "Yuna, listen to me. Your mother does not care about missions or ships right now. She thought you were dead. For weeks, she believed her daughter was gone forever. Now she knows you are alive. Trust me, perfection is the last thing on her mind." The ship's intercom crackled. "Valari shuttle approaching. Commander Sora requests permission to dock." Yuna's heart stopped. "She came herself." "Of course she did. She is your mother." The docking process took 10 minutes, but it felt like a lifetime. Yuna stood in the airlock corridor waiting. Captain Junho and Mina stood nearby. Taiho stayed close to Yuna's side. The airlock door opened. Sora stood in the doorway. She was wearing her formal uniform, but her hair was messy. Her eyes were red. She looked like she had not slept in days. Mother and daughter stared at each other across the corridor. Neither moved, neither spoke. The moment stretched out, fragile as glass. Then Sora's face crumbled. All the coldness, all the control, all the distance melted away in an instant. She was not a commander anymore. She was just a mother looking at her child. "Yuna," she whispered, and then she ran. Sora ran down the corridor, her feet pounding on the metal floor. Yuna started running too, tears streaming down her face. They met in the middle and crashed into each other's arms. Sora held her daughter so tight it hurt. She buried her face in Yuna's hair and cried. Yuna clung to her mother, feeling warmth she had waited her whole life to feel. "I am sorry," Sora sobbed. "I am so sorry. I was so cold to you. I was so hard on you. I thought I was making you strong, but I was just pushing you away. I am so sorry." "Mother," Yuna cried, "I thought you did not love me. I thought I was never good enough." "No, no, no, no." Sora pulled back and held Yuna's face in her hands. "You were always good enough. You were always perfect. I was the one who failed. I was the one who could not show you how much I loved you. I love you, Mother. I love you too, my daughter. I love you so much. I am never letting you go again. Never." They held each other for a long time, crying together, healing together. The human crew watched from a distance, giving them space. Finally, Sora looked up at the humans. She saw Taiho standing quietly by the wall. She gently let go of Yuna and walked toward him. "You," she said, "you are the one who saved her." Taiho bowed respectfully. "My whole crew helped, Commander. I was just one part of it." Sora stared at him for a long moment. Then, to everyone's surprise, she bowed deeply to him. The commander of the Valari fleet, bowing to a human medic. "You gave me my daughter back," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "No words can express what that means to me. I am forever in your debt." "There is no debt," Taiho said gently. "We did what any human would do. We helped someone who needed help." "Any human would do this? Risk their lives for a stranger?" "Yes, it is who we are." Sora straightened and looked at all the humans around her. Captain Junho, who had ordered the rescue. Dr. Mina, who had performed impossible surgeries. The crew members who had worked together to save a life. "I have lived a long time," Sora said slowly. "I have met many species. I have seen great courage and great cruelty. But I have never seen anything like this. You are remarkable people." Junho smiled. "We just try our best, Commander. Now please, take your daughter home. She has missed you very much." Sora looked back at Yuna, who was smiling through her tears. For the first time in weeks, Sora felt something she thought she would never feel again. Joy. She took Yuna's hand. Together, mother and daughter walked toward the airlock. At the door, Yuna turned back and waved at Taiho. "Thank you," she mouthed. Taiho smiled and nodded. Then they were gone, flying home together, holding hands for the first time in 20 years. In the quiet of the Endurance, Mina wiped her eyes. "That was the most beautiful thing I have ever seen." Junho nodded. "That is why we do this job. Not for money, not for fame. For moments like this." Taiho said nothing. He just stood by the window and watched the Valari shuttle disappear into the stars. He thought of his sister, lost so long ago. He thought of all the people he had saved since then. Maybe this was what healing looked like. Not forgetting the pain, but turning it into something good. He smiled and went back to work. There were always more people to save. 1 month had passed since Yuna returned home. The Valari homeworld looked different now, not because it had changed, but because Yuna had changed. She saw beauty where she once saw only duty. She saw love where she once saw only expectation. Today was an important day. The Valari Council had called a special session to honor the humans who had saved her life. Representatives from across the Alliance had gathered in the Great Hall. Dignitaries, military leaders, and common citizens filled the chamber to hear the story that had spread across their civilization. Yuna stood at the witness platform, wearing her formal uniform. Her mother sat in the front row, watching with proud eyes. Behind Sora sat the crew of the Endurance. Captain Junho, Dr. Mina, and Taiho. They wore their best clothes and looked uncomfortable with all the attention. "Lieutenant Yuna," the council leader said, "please tell the assembly what happened to you." Yuna took a deep breath and began. She told them about the battle, about the fear and the fire and the screaming alarms, about the moment her ship exploded and she was thrown into the cold void, about lying in the darkness of her escape pod, feeling life slip away from her body. By Valari standards, Una said, I was already dead. My injuries were too severe. My body was failing. No Valari doctor would have wasted resources trying to save me. They would have made me comfortable and let me go. A murmur went through the crowd. This was true. Valari medicine was efficient and practical. Resources were not spent on hopeless cases. But the humans did not follow Valari standards, Una continued. They found my broken escape pod floating in an asteroid field. They saw a faint signal that could have been nothing but debris, and instead of ignoring it, they went to investigate. She looked at Captain Junho. Captain Junho ordered his ship into danger because he said there might be a chance someone was alive. A chance, not a certainty, just a possibility. And for humans, that was enough. Junho ducked his head modestly, embarrassed by the attention. They found me dying. Dr. Mina said my injuries were beyond treatment. By logic, they should have let me die peacefully. But Sergeant Taiho refused. Yuna's voice cracked with emotion. He said, "That is not what humans do." She told them about the surgery, about her heart stopping twice, about Taiho performing chest compressions for minutes that felt like hours, refusing to give up even when everyone else had accepted her death. They brought me back, Una said, not because I was important, not because they would receive a reward, not because of duty or orders or politics. They saved me because that is who humans are. They believe every life has value. They believe every person deserves a chance. The Great Hall was silent. Every face was turned toward Una, listening to words that challenged everything they believed about medicine, about practicality, about the meaning of life. I spent 2 weeks on their ship recovering, Una continued. I learned about their culture. I learned about their history. Humans are a young species. They are not the strongest or the fastest or the most advanced, but they have something that we do not have. They have stubborn, unreasonable, illogical hope. She smiled. They taught me that hope is not weakness, it is strength. The strength to keep fighting when everyone else gives up. The strength to believe in impossible things. The strength to love without limits. Una stepped down from the platform and walked toward the human delegation. She stopped in front of Taiho. This man saved my life. He sat by my bed for 3 days without sleep. He talked to me when I was unconscious, keeping me company in the darkness. He brought me back from death not because it was his job, but because he cared. She turned to face the council. Honored leaders, I ask you to recognize these humans with the Star of Valor, our highest military honor. They have earned it more than any soldier I have ever known. The council leader rose. The council agrees. Captain Junho, Dr. Mina, Sergeant Taiho, please step forward. The 3 humans walked to the front of the hall. They looked nervous and out of place among all the tall, elegant Valari, but they stood with quiet dignity. Commander Sora rose and walked toward them, carrying 3 golden medals shaped like stars. She stopped in front of Junho first. Captain Junho, she said formally, for your decision to risk your ship and crew to save a stranger, the Valari Alliance honors you with the Star of Valor. She pinned the medal on his chest. Thank you, Commander, Junho said, but I was just doing my job. Sora moved to Mina. Dr. Mina, for your skill and dedication in saving a life that others would have abandoned, the Valari Alliance honors you with the Star of Valor. Mina bowed. It was a team effort, Commander. Taiho never let me give up. Finally, Sora stood before Taiho. She looked at the human who had given her daughter back to her. For a moment, no words came. Sergeant Taiho, she said at last, her voice thick with emotion. You gave me a gift that I can never repay. You gave me my daughter. You gave me my hope. You gave me my life back. She pinned the medal on his chest, then did something no Valari commander had ever done before. She embraced him. The crowd gasped. A commander hugging a foreign soldier was unheard of in Valari culture. But Sora did not care about culture anymore. She cared about truth. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for not giving up on her. Taiho hugged her back gently. She reminded me of someone I lost. I was not going to let it happen again. Sora pulled back and wiped her eyes. She returned to her seat, and Yuna took her place beside the humans. The council leader spoke again. Lieutenant Yuna, the council has discussed your future. Given your experiences, we believe you have a unique perspective on human-Valari relations. We would like you to serve as a liaison officer in a new joint project. Yuna looked surprised. What kind of project? A humanitarian corps? Valari and humans working together to help those in need across the galaxy. We have learned from your story that there is value in the human approach. Perhaps it is time we learn to hope as they do. Tears filled Yuna's eyes. She looked at Taiho, who was smiling at her. I would be honored, she said. After the ceremony, Yuna walked with Taiho through the gardens outside the Great Hall. The sky was clear and blue, and flowers bloomed in every color. So we will be working together, Yuna said. It seems so, Taiho replied. The council asked us to help train Valari medics in human techniques. I think you will be part of that program. I would like that. I want to help others the way you helped me. They walked in comfortable silence for a while. Then Yuna stopped and turned to face him. Taiho, can I ask you something? Of course. When you were saving me, when I was dying and everyone else said to let me go, why did you keep fighting? What made you believe it was possible? Taiho thought about the question. He looked up at the alien sky, so different from Earth but still beautiful. Because giving up is easy, he said. Anyone can give up. It takes no courage, no strength, no heart. But fighting for someone, even when the odds are against you, that is what makes us human. We are not special because we always win. We are special because we never stop trying. Yuna nodded slowly. I think I understand now. Hope is not about believing you will succeed. It is about believing that trying is worth it, no matter what happens. Exactly, Taiho smiled. You are becoming more human every day. Yuna laughed. It was a real laugh, full of joy. Is that a good thing? I think so. They continued walking through the garden, talking about the future, about the lives they would save together. Back in the Great Hall, Sora watched them through a window. She saw her daughter laughing with the human who had saved her. She saw two people from different worlds finding connection. Hana came to stand beside her. Commander, you look happy. I am happy, Sora admitted. For the first time in a long time, I am happy. The humans are strange people. Yes, strange and wonderful. Sora paused. They taught me something important. Hana, what is that? That strength is not about hiding your emotions. It is about being brave enough to show them. That love is not weakness. It is the most powerful force in the universe. Sora turned from the window and walked toward the exit. She had work to do, reports to file, meetings to attend. But none of that seemed as important as it once had. Her daughter was alive. Her daughter was happy. Her daughter was going to help save others, just as she had been saved. And somewhere in the galaxy, a small human ship continued its journey, looking for more people to help, more lives to save. Because that was what humans did. They hoped, they fought, they refused to give up. The universe was vast and cold and often cruel, but as long as there were humans in it, there would always be a chance for miracles. And sometimes, Sora thought, that was all anyone needed. A chance.